Yes, we are.
Rearranging your video as right before we're going live. Okay, there we go. Hey, that didn't take too long this time. All right. Cool. I see us.
There we are.
I see
Handsome
us.
as ever.
That's right. At least 50%. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 221. Your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rhett.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in the podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If we've never... Oh, good God. I am off to a roaring start here. If you have never seen the show before, I've seen the show many, many times, at least 220 of them. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. We read all super chats on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize my channel. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you are drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know it in the chat, and we will give some early show shoutouts as we go along. And last but not least, if you like the content you see on this channel and want to help support us in what we do, consider joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll be able to join the exclusive Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and take part in the awesome community that hangs out over there. Okay, I'm going to end the stream and start over.
Yeah, bye, folks. Or as Skull says, bye, Folsk. Nailed him. What a dork. He typed it wrong.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Skull.
Oh.
We love you.
Good night.
Hey, we do have a super chat from our good buddy Kren. G'day, Kren. How you doing out there? G'day to all our friends down under.
Never gets old, does it?
That was a pretty good one.
That was pretty good.
Like,
I mean,
wow.
Stereotypically was pretty good. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how Kren feels about that one, but
like, well, I'm not hitting the regional dialects.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, got me pluggers on. No, wait.
Oh,
no, I should have stopped while I
oh
was
God.
ahead.
I told you to stop. Remember how we talked about ending your sentence or your phrases one sentence sooner?
I couldn't resist saying the word pluggers.
Pluggers.
So, there we go.
You're turning into a Twitch streamer. Poggers.
Yeah. There you go. Look at this. Super chat's rolling in.
Yeah.
Bars and PWN at me. How could you watch The Last Jedi and not tell YouTube about it? That's true. I watched The Last Jedi and I'm here to tell you all about it. I'm not going to take up the first half of our show with that, though.
Boy, we're not going to spoiler cast this, are we? I mean, a lot of people haven't seen The Last Jedi.
That's true. That's true. Also, he's drinking Wild Turkey Rare Breed Rye.
Excellent. I do love a good rye, especially Wild Turkey.
I do. Also, yeah, man. Wild Turkey's great.
Yes. Good
All
stuff.
right.
Good stuff. Let's see. Let's get to the best part of the evening. Rhett, what are you drinking tonight?
Okay, well, I've been sitting on one of these bad boys for a while. I've got a Dragon's Milk Solera.
Oh.
A delightful beverage that was gifted to me by Jeff many moons ago when we did a 4-person stream. You might all remember. We had one of the Dragon's Milk Reserves, and then we had this. Everybody had the Solera as well, and I saved mine for some reason, like a fool. But no longer.
That's right.
You see, tonight we're celebrating, and I'm going to celebrate with Dragon's Milk.
Excellent. Yeah. Congratulations to Rhett. Rhett just quit his day job. True story.
Yes, I did. And thanks to all the fine folks super chatting and joining us on the Patreon and over on the Discord. Jeff, gets to bring me on board, and I get to hang out with you all the time now.
That's right.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. Thanks to the Patreon and thanks to the channel growing. Rhett is now working for me. Like, I am his day job now.
Yeah. He makes it sound like
buckle up.
Exactly.
So yeah, Rhett is coming on board. He's already been doing a lot of video editing for me over the last 6 months or so. 7 months, something like that. Guy. Yeah, I've lost.
I started in 2020.
Did you?
Didn't I?
Was it that long ago? I don't.
Like March. Wait, or no?
No, I think it was 21.
March 2021.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so 10 months
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right before I moved.
Time is a very abstract thing to me these days.
It doesn't exist.
Right.
It's a fabrication.
Right.
To keep the proletariat in line. Got to keep the workers clocking in every morning.
Days are just a system of the man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But yeah, so he's going to be on board, editing even more videos, helping out with production, possibly doing some writing, doing a lot of the nitty gritty stuff of business that no one ever sees on YouTube. Like, what do I do on YouTube? Well, I kind of work in advertising by selling ads to people, but the advertising is only like 5% of my job and about 15 to 20% of the communication that has to happen. So that's how I make money, but that's not what I do. What I do is I make videos so you guys will watch so I can sell that ad space. And also, I have the Patreon, which is fantastic because you guys get to chat with me one-on-one or 20 on one or however many on one. It's getting weird.
Yeah, we just dogpile them over there.
Right. So I like to hang out there a lot. I'm over there all the time. And if you at me, you'll probably get a response as long as I'm not sleeping, although I don't do much of that these days anyway. But yeah, so it's like, what do I do? There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that has to happen to like run a business, and I'm glad to have Rhett on board to help out. So welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you much. I appreciate it.
I'm going to start with this one right here. So this is the Double Fruit Oops. Sour IPA with pineapple. Caracara, orange, dragon fruit, and milk sugar. 9%. And this is from... I don't remember the brewer on this one. Oh, brewed by Other Half Brewing. Bloomfield, New York.
Nice.
Pretty sure this one came over from my Secret Santa. So, thank you, Secret Santa. Whew. That is, oh wow, look at that color. I guess this very much is taking after Fruit Loops because, man, that's just all like Toucan Sam Beak right there.
That actually looks really good.
Right. It smells very much like a grapefruit soda. Very much so.
You know what was really weird, though? I looked up and I saw your beer, and it made me think of a red beer, with like tomato juice and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I took a drink of mine, and I got that flavor in my mouth. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is there something that I missed in this? Caramel, toffee, and fig.
Yeah.
Nothing that should have screamed tomato juice in my mouth just there. So nope. The brain, powerful organ.
This isn't half bad. It's definitely very tart. Very, very tart. But grapefruit, maybe cranberry? Like, I know there's no cranberry in here, but it reminds me of cranberry. Yeah. Super, super dry. Lots of congratulations coming in. Kren sends over another couple Aussie bucks. Congrats, Rhett. That'll buy you at least a can of Rainier. John sends over $5. Congrats, Rhett. Howdy from a frozen Texas. Novella Hub.
Thank you.
Novella Hub sends over $5. Congratulations, Rhett, on the new job and microphone cover.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the microphone cover, but if y'all remember, I think last time I had like a bright yellow one that matched my t-shirt.
That's right.
And somebody said you should change the color every show, and so I said I would. So we're just gonna hit all the rainbow and maybe keep cycling around. We'll see what happens.
The mic color should be Bengals orange. Go Bengals. I know the Bengals franchise has suffered, but there's a player on the other side who suffered 12 years of living in Detroit. And I say that as a Detroit fan, as a Lions fan for as long as I can remember watching football. If anyone deserves to win the Super Bowl, it's Matthew Stafford. So this is probably the only time in my life I'm going to root for LA in anything. Being from Portland, I hate LA. I hate LA everything. Well, California everything, but you know that it's rooted in LA. You know, growing up a Blazer fan, we don't like the Lakers. You know, there's just no bones about it. We don't like LA.
No,
they inflate our housing market. They blah, 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 blah.
It's not contained to just sports.
Right. No offense if you're from Los Angeles, but I hate you. I'm kidding. There's probably a couple of you who are great. And they're all watching
statistically, there's got to be quite a few, right?
Right.
It's a big place.
Right.
So we'll give you all that concession. But yeah. LA is just the opposite of Portland and the Pacific Northwest in many ways. But we do have West Coast solidarity. So
it's true.
Give you all that. West Coast solidarity. We're in the same time zone. Yep. That's got to count for something.
Yep.
Nice.
The rest moved to Texas. Actually, statistically, more Los Angelinos moved to Portland and Seattle than due to Texas. And I think it's because our summers are amazing and they bait them into moving up here and then grab a hold of them with 8 months of the longest winter you've ever seen.
Well, it could just be that they don't want to move to where it's hot and sweaty all the time.
Barzanone, can I redact my super chat for the LA talk? Nope, that's my money now. I'm going to go bet $5 on the Blazers over Lakers next time they play. That's what I'm doing with that $5. Or are you suddenly a Clippers fan? I forgot. You guys just kind of blow with the breeze. So. All right, let's get into some news before I alienate all of my audience. Starting with PCI Express 5.0. If there was ever a blip on the radar that was as short as PCI 4.0, it was probably PCI 2.0. But PCI Express 4.0 on its way out. It's yesterday's news. PCI 5.0. That's the way to go. That's what all the cool kids are going after these days. And Silicon Motion. You probably don't know who they are unless you are into the nitty-gritty of the ins and outs of NVMe drives and drive controllers and enterprise storage and all that kind of stuff. But Silicon Motion is one of the most prevalent drive controller manufacturers. That is, they don't manufacture the NAND, the actual flash memory and chips that go onto SSDs. They manufacture the silicon that controls it and regulates it and makes the NAND actually work. Well, they are starting to greenlight some controllers for PCI Express 5.0 and are on track for enthusiast-grade NVMe drive release in the fourth quarter of 2022. So later this year, you will be getting NVMe 5.0 drives in your PCs, capable of 13 gigabytes per second. Let me say that crap again. 13 gigabytes per second on an NVMe drive. Yeah, all you people who thought me going 10 gig on my network was overkill. Yeah, not even. What's more is apparently their drive controllers are also going to take advantage of some quote-unquote key features of AMD's 7th gen Raphael processors, as well as Intel's 12th gen Alder Lake. A lot of that probably relating to shared memory cache or just being closer proximity to the chip and silicon itself. Also the lower latency of PCI Express 5.0. So it's a good time to be in data storage. It's a good time to want faster and faster storage. I don't know what's possibly going to take advantage of this. let alone the overhead required from the CPU to be able to keep up with all that. But if you are interested in PCI Express 5.0 NVMe, later this year. On the enterprise side of things, they are already starting to seed development drawing a blank. Qualified sampling. There we go. Qualified sampling of controllers to the enterprise sector for PCI Express 5.0. So those are in the early stages, and enterprise PCIe 5.0 storage will probably come out sometime in early to mid 2023. So next year we should be hitting the data center with 13 gigs per second on a single disk, let alone like striped. So good times, good times. Let's see. Buckle up. Craft Computing is going to top 10 gigabytes. Let's see. Those 400 gigabit and 1 terabit network connections are sounding pretty good about now. Yep. Craft Computing 40 gig win. Actually, I started looking at 100 gig networking not too long ago. I do have some 40 gig stuff actually here right now. And hopefully this next month, or maybe late this month, maybe late February, I'll be diving into that finally. But yeah, I do have some 40 gig content planned. Maybe not to the desktop, but as far as like backbone stuff between my servers. That's going to be fun. So, see, Rhett, it wasn't that long ago you were still on spinning storage.
Yeah, I actually still am in some regards. I have a desktop that I'm not on right now that my backup hard drives are all spinning. So
yeah,
it's only a matter of time. I just decided those are going to stay in there until they're done. I got the important stuff off, but here we are.
Yep.
What else am I going to use those for?
Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I showed Rhett. He was out in my garage yesterday, and I said, "This is the ultimate, how it started and how it's going." Because my first server that I built for this channel is sitting on one of the shelves in my garage, next to my server rack,
just collecting dust.
Yep.
That thing used to work for you, Jeff.
Oh, it totally did. That thing more than earned its keep, let me tell you. Ooh, definitely a tart beer.
It looks good.
It is. The flavor is fantastic.
I love those sour beers.
Ooh.
It looks...
I just topped it back off with what little bit was left in the bottom of the can. Now I'm getting like this huge splash of pineapple in it.
My beer is almost gone, and it's literally 20 minutes in. That sucks.
That's a problem, because that's what, 12.5%?
It's only 10%.
Oh, only 10. Okay.
So, yeah, it's just a 12-ounce bottle. We're not going crazy here.
Rhett loves garages. That's from Steve.
Well, Steve would know.
Steve would know.
Spend a lot of time with Steve in garages.
Yeah. I think we've all spent a lot of time with Steve in garages.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
If anybody loves a garage, it's Steve.
Right. That's usually where I find him. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to whatever this story is. Electronic Arts thought,
oh yeah,
as recently as like 4 months ago, that the future of our industry is NFTs. NFTs are going to be in everything. We're going to mint NFTs, and they're going to be collectible, and people are going to give us cash for literally no reason. Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic business model if your business model is to mint and sell NFTs. If your business model is to sell games, even if your business model is to mint and sell NFTs, I think you're in seriously troubled waters right now, and you might want to abandon ship in the next couple of weeks. But that's just me.
Yeah. Well, this is what happens when your board of directors is filled every seat with an accountant or an investor or somebody who, yeah. I mean, make games. That's what you do.
Right.
People are mad at you for doing that. Like, people were mad at you for loot boxes 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, wait. These aren't loot boxes. Better yet, we just take
Yeah.
your money, but we don't even have to give you actual digital goods in return.
Well, actually, Jeff, have you even stopped to consider that under our model, the artists stand to make just as much money? They get a 10% cut of every transaction that happens on our platform.
So the 90% is an administrative fee?
Yeah, tell me about it, dude.
Right.
The saddest thing this morning was waking up on and scrolling through Twitter and seeing how many of like my friends that are musicians and stuff on Twitter who have had their stuff hijacked and minted on OpenSea or wherever the hell they do it. It's a big grift from the top to the bottom, and the people who are gonna make their money have really already done it, and now everybody's chasing the fad.
Right.
And they're literally like, if you're taking somebody's music and minting it, like you're stealing that. Oh no, they're gonna get a cut. Who's gonna guarantee that they get a cut?
Right.
Because they're not. Like, who was it? I don't know. And this is the problem, and everybody's talking about this stuff with games, and you go on Twitter and it's the funniest stuff ever. People who have literally zero understanding of what it takes to make a game, and they're like, well, actually, just imagine being able to buy a pair of pants when you're playing Destiny 2,
and you can wear those pants in every game.
You can take those pair of pants to World of Warcraft. It's not that hard. And then when you're done, you can sell it on a third-party marketplace. Yeah, because third-party marketplaces, not even third-party marketplaces, but, marketplaces have always made games better, right? Remember when Counter-Strike Go used to be a fun game? And then all of a sudden you can't even play without getting killed by some 16-year-old with a $7,000 knife. Look, that's on me. I'm getting killed by a 16-year-old, but still,
I remember.
It's just like, look, I used to love, taking my crappy loot from the boxes and stuff, playing Dota 2 and putting them up on the marketplace and making pennies and pennies and pennies, and then taking those accumulated pennies and buying fun little cosmetics for my characters. But like, yeah, the proposal for NFTs is just so far beyond that, the way that people think that they're going to be implemented. And they talk about it as though it's like foolproof, like they've thought of it from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Now,
No. What? In defense
of EA.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, the story. We should have finished the headline.
Yeah. I read the first paragraph like that. CEO Andrew Wilson of EA claimed last year that NFTs were, quote, the future of our industry. However, in a Q3 earnings call for 2022, which by the way is their fiscal year, which is actually first quarter mid review. Yeah, it's weird.
Most people's fiscal year end in July.
Right. That he revealed in a fiscal review call that the future may not be quite as clean cut as he thought, saying the company is, quote, not driving hard on them, end quote. What he means by that is, well, we saw the backlash that Ubisoft got about a week ago, and we're not going to herald that trumpet anymore. At least not as hard. We're still going to sell NFTs, but we're not going to shove them down everyone's throats like we did microtransactions, because that worked out so well.
Yeah, he goes on in this article and he's comparing NFTs to other technologies that are driven external investors into the industry, such as 3D and VR. And he said that, quote unquote, collectability built on 4 key metrics: quality, scarcity, authenticity, and perceived value. Big emphasis on perceived value. Has been an important part of the business for years, long before NFTs. And 100% right.
What's funny, I agree with him there. I agree with those 4 points. That is what intrinsically makes something valuable.
But see, that's what's hilarious to me, though. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go for it.
Like this is a hilarious thing to me, is because, like, you know, the idea of the scarcity that he mentions there and the perceived value. Like, you used to go and wait in line at GameStop at midnight to buy your thing, and you got your like GameStop exclusive DLC add-on item or whatever. Yeah. And people thought that like that's scarcity. Like, what's weird to me is the idea, like, in the digital age, when we're reducing scarcity and we are like, we're literally able to propagate valuable, you know, things digitally infinitely. They're like, what we ought to do is add artificial scarcity to drive up the perceived value. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
We're manipulating our own internal stock market is what NFT scarcity breaks down to.
Right.
And again, to kind of echo Wilson's sentiment, scarcity and collectability are very intrinsically related with gaming. I mean, look at, you know, console game collectors and people like LGR, you know, vintage computer collecting and you know, big box games and things like that. Those things are scarce to a certain extent. You know, I'm guilty of collecting things myself. I bought a Star Trek keyboard from 1994 because there weren't many of them made, and I found one new in box. How could I go wrong with that? And that thing has value to me. Now, I won an auction for an absurdly low value on it. Like, I think I won the auction for $23, and then I had to pay $15 shipping. I would have bid $200 on that. Not that it's worth $200.
No.
But it was important to me to have that.
But see, and then where you break away and where your mindset becomes, I don't know, and maybe I'm interrupting you here with the wrong takeaway, but like yesterday we were talking about, you know, because you had the phaser mouse and you were like, this thing is so sick, but it's not usable. It's just not functional. Right. It doesn't, but like, dang, it feels good. It's nice. Like, and it looks dope. I want to use this. So I'm thinking about taking it apart, taking the facade and putting it on an actual optical mouse. Yeah. Like right then and there, you begin to differ away from some of those types of folks that, you know,
who are, you know, mint new in box. No, cars are meant to be driven. Keyboards are meant to be used. Game discs are meant to be put in computers. Like, cartridges are meant to be played. Like, I'm a collector, but I'm not a, like, I ain't no Wada Games here.
Right.
Don't get me started on that again. But going back to scarcity and collectability, those are things in non-digital ecosystems. The problem with digital is zeros and ones are not intrinsically unique. They are not inherently unique. They can be duplicated, and the duplicate is identical to the thing that was copied. It's not a reproduction. It's not, the zeros and ones don't change from one thing to another.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what's hilarious. Right. And look, the only pitch I've ever heard for NFTs that sounds reasonable.
I think I've said intrinsically 4 times now. I'm going to stop using that word.
Drink. All right. Somebody get out your clickers. Take a shot every time he says intrinsically for the rest of the show.
Ooh.
The only pitch for NFTs that I've heard that sounds like a great idea, and I don't know enough about it to know how it would work or what, but a buddy said to me, he goes, well, you know, the way this works, I could almost see it being implemented to try to end robo scalping of concert tickets, of graphics cards.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but this is one of the things that I've heard a couple people talk about. And if it could be implemented that way, great. What a good use of this technology that's really bad.
At least some good came of the blockchain.
Like, yeah, you know, it's like, I don't know, you know, it's like, I can't even think of a bad invention all of a sudden. It's like, ooh. But yeah, anyway, you use it to end robo scalping. I'm all there for it.
Right.
But to steal people's artwork or to steal and to talk about using them for game cosmetics.
I know.
Anyway, luckily EA, they probably got dunked on super hard. I bet you they lost a few points on the stock market and really had to look closely at the things that they were saying because they realized, hey, we talk about these things nobody likes and we lose money. Can't have that. So let's not talk about them and do them all secretly.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but you find everybody like, man, everybody has slipped up with NFTs in some way. Neil Gaiman, man, one of my favorite authors the other day, he's all like, yeah, we're doing a charity and we're going to do an NFT charity. And everybody's like, Neil, how much money do we have to raise for your charity for you to not do this?
Yeah. I'm going to give you $20 to F off.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. Like, that's the problem, is there's no such thing as scarcity in the digital age. The last game I stood in line at midnight for was Grand Theft Auto 4. And I know we've only had one more Grand Theft Auto since then, but that really was a long time ago.
Even the last Grand Theft Auto was a long time ago.
Right.
That was like almost 10 years ago. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out,
yes,
right?
It was.
Or like
yes, it
almost
was.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Skyrim is 11 years old.
Yeah. I waited in line at midnight with my friend while he bought Skyrim, and then he brought it home, and I found a Russian crack for it that night.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't even know if I needed the Russian crack. I don't remember. I did end up buying it, but I was making $7.35 an hour back then, so I didn't want to have to.
Hey, that's about what I'm paying you now. So
you heard it here, guys. Please send help. American Cosworth asked me in the last super chat when I'm unionizing. So I think I'm going to have to begin negotiating now. I think I'm going to talk to the other. Well, it's just me, so I'm going to start filing the paperwork, and we'll see.
I'm gonna wake up in the morning and he's picketing outside my front door. You know I have 2 doors, Rhett. I'm just gonna go out the back. Any scabs willing to cross that picket line? You can make as much as $6 an hour.
Pay the scabs even less than me.
Someone's out there willing to do it.
Oh man, that's a true scab right there. If they're willing to even take less than me. Oh my god.
Anyway, the rest of American Cosworth, $5. Thank you so much. Thanks to Jeff, I apparently have started collecting obscure server cards and enterprise GPUs. That is also a hobby of mine.
Talk about scarcity, though.
Right. Well, I've also started collecting some obscure PC components. I picked up an NVIDIA PCI card, not PCI Express, not AGP, but a PCI card that is a dual NV400 or dual NV40. It has 64 megabytes of memory per GPU. They cannot be SLI'd together because SLI as a technology was still owned by 3DFX. This predates the 3DFX takeover of NVIDIA. It was simply 2 GPUs on a single board with 2 video outputs, and that was all you could do with it. It was like $20. It was a great deal on it.
There was another super chat, by the way, that we missed.
Did we?
From Harley McClear. Untitled Art Triple Berry Hazelnut Smoothie Stout.
Those are a lot of words that I've never heard together.
Yeah.
Hazelnut Smoothie Stout.
Untitled Art must be the brewer.
Probably the brewery.
Right?
Either that or you blended up an NFT to go along with it. I often... honestly, I am a huge fan of stouts. Like, stouts are my one true love in beers. Like, I love IPAs. I will take a stout over an IPA any day, though. The berry stouts, the soured stouts, those are usually stouts that have gone bad that they need to sell the entire batch from. they're not usually things that I gravitate towards because I've had so many bad experiences of like, oh, let's just call it a sour. No, that's a funk. There's a difference.
You're right. That's when you call it a farmhouse ale.
Right.
Dude, Mike Jones says something here. This is trippy. Mike Jones, right under American Cosway Super Chat. He says, technically everything is saved, recorded. The light bouncing off you is not lost and recorded your every action and is traveling in space.
It is way too early in the show for that kind of talk.
I like that. That's something my friend Lee would say. Untitled Art is a brewery, by the way. So yes.
Anyway, let's jump on to the next gaming related money thing.
Yeah.
A lot of financials in this show.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Gaming's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
That's right. So Microsoft announced last week that they were going to be purchasing/acquiring Activision Blizzard. Well, that's just hit a little bit of a snag. And we'll see if that ends up going through, although we're still not going to know for probably at least 6 months to maybe a year or more if this transaction will actually happen. Because, kind of as expected, this is getting some eyes from U.S. regulators. But in particular, the FTC has said they are going to spearhead this investigation and determine whether or not it is a fair business practice and guard against monopolies within the technology sector and in the trade sector, and they are more than apt to do that. There's one thing in particular that might throw a little bit of a wrench into this, and that is the person in charge of heading this up is Lena Khan. Inverse of Lana Kane. Dang it, Rhett, you're supposed to laugh at that joke.
No.
So
you don't pay me enough.
Right. Sorry. So yeah, the FTC and the Justice Department both have jurisdiction over business acquisitions and business practices like this. And neither one of them can take the lead or take on the case of should this be allowed. And sometimes it's as simple as, they don't compete in enough spaces or, whatever. Other times this can go into long drawn out legal battles or even be straight up denied, where you're not allowed to purchase this because you're too large of a company or you are eating up too much of the market. Right. And given that Activision Blizzard was the largest independent game producer next to EA, Sony, and Microsoft already, this one might be seen with a little bit more scrutiny. Even more so, Lena Khan is an outspoken opponent of monopolies. She very much dislikes them and is very much not in favor of companies and conglomerates becoming even larger companies and conglomerates. So this one might be a little difficult for Microsoft to actually pull off in the end.
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I kind of hope so. Not because not because I want to see Microsoft crash and burn. No, but like you said, when you begin to have all of these companies merge under the same umbrella, it begins to diminish consumer choice.
Yes.
And that's the thing that, all of us as consumers should be worried about. And Microsoft in general has made, like, the last 10 years has done a lot to sort of, bolster their image, especially when it comes to games and gaming, which I'm a big fan of. And if anybody can use some rehabilitation, it's Activision Blizzard right now. And
can Sony buy Ubisoft? Like, can we make that happen?
But yeah, so who knows? I kind of hope just to see. I do hope personally to see regulators take a stronger stance against big tech companies. That's not really been the case for a long time. And last time Microsoft faced like an antitrust review, like they lost, but then, you know, governing bodies switched hands and moved around, and no enforcement was ever pursued. Which, who knows if that was good or bad for the consumers. It's, you know, it was nearly 20 something years ago at this point, 25 years ago. But yeah, time will see what happens with this. I like watching it unfold personally.
Yeah. I certainly, I'm intrigued by this as well. More so because Microsoft has built up quite a bit of goodwill in the last couple of years, and I've talked about that as much on this show, with Microsoft being very open to multi-platform releases, and what they've done with Xbox Game Pass, holding Sony's feet to the fire to make gaming a better deal. Their deal on the Xbox One S, if you can, Series S, if you can find one for $299, you can finance it for essentially the price of the console, and you get Xbox Game Pass on top of that. It's like $25 a month, and you pay it off in a year.
Right.
And
yeah.
There's no better deal in gaming. There really isn't. Now, of course, you have to find one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I remember trying to find one of those and just couldn't ever. Like, they were constantly sold out, or I don't know what it was. Maybe I'm talking out my butt.
Yeah, the Series X is always sold out. PS5 is always sold out. Series S is also, like, they're like, yeah, I guess I don't need 4K right now. I'll just keep 1080.
Well, I tried to jump on their like Games Pass deal, and just like I don't know what obstacles I ran into. Anyway, not to derail you,
but Microsoft as a company, as a whole, has also been very open to releasing products on open source and opening up both their platform and releasing their software on other platforms lately.
Right.
Outside of just like Microsoft Office and Office 365, I mean, they all of a sudden started using Chromium as the base for Microsoft Edge, instead of trying to compete or create their own internal product that was just friendly for their own services. They're like, why not use Chrome? Because Chrome's a good browser. We can tie our own services into it, but it's not going to detract from other services available on Chrome natively. I see that as a win. They released .NET for Linux. You can compile .NET on Linux now. You can also compile .NET in Windows subsystem for Linux on a Windows PC using a Linux kernel. Like, they have done so much good for branching out to multiple different platforms that I'm really intrigued by this Activision Blizzard deal, given how narrow-focused Activision Blizzard seemed to be on, and all companies are, let's make as much money for our stockholders as possible, because that is the end goal of any business. But at the expense of their fan bases and the people that got them there. It's the same kind of thing on, I was talking about with me earlier. Like, I work in advertising in the fact that I sell advertisements and advertising space. Those advertisements are not what got me here. What got me here is making content for you fine folks. And if Activision Blizzard would make content that you fine folks would like to purchase, they would probably do just as well, instead of trying to take these shortcuts like selling NFTs and microtransactions and loot boxes and taking advantage of the whales who will happily, blow $3,000 on Overwatch or whatever the flavor of the month is, and $150 on a season pass for Call of Duty every 6 months. Like, instead of just trying to make every single aspect of your thing monetized, why don't you just put out a good product? Because it's still going to sell. So, I'm curious. I'm curious to see if this transaction will even go through. And if it doesn't go through, what are the ramifications for Activision Blizzard after that, after this acquisition failure? I mean, that's another thing to keep a strong eye on. So, interesting stuff. You know what else is interesting? Today's sponsor. Today's episode of Talking Heads, obviously, is brought to you by Linode because they are fantastic. If you've ever needed to host your own servers, whether it be for home or business use, but don't have the time or resources to invest into hardware, cooling, space, or anything else, and of course my notes just went away, so I'm going to have to spitball the rest of this, why not let Linode host them for you? If I'd hosted my notes on Linode, that'd probably be easier. Good lord. I'm serious. Google Drive just signed me out, so I can't read my sponsor spot. They make it simple to deploy and manage your own cloud services, with solutions ranging from a single shared CPU to massive multi-core virtual machines. They even offer dedicated graphics like RTX 6000 cards for machine learning or cloud rendering. Good lord, I hope they're not paying for this sponsor spot.
Of course they are. This is what everybody watches for.
This is what everyone watches for. Is
they don't want to see you be that successful.
I know. Gosh. Between this and the intro, I'm just gonna walk away. Let me see if I can get signed back in here. Hold on. I'm getting there.
I used to have the sponsor spot in front of me. I could have picked it up for you.
I know.
Jeff is one of these guys. He likes to have his grip on everything. He won't let me run free.
They make it easy to deploy and manage your own cloud services, with solutions ranging from a single shared CPU to massive multi-core virtual machines. They even offer dedicated RTX 6000 GPUs for machine learning. They also recently started rolling out NVMe block storage to all 11 of their global data centers. Best of all, that solution is going to remain at the same low price it always has been. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing to get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account and get your home lab or business cloud started today. That's linode.com/craftcomputing. And thank you to Linode for forgiving my current cloud provider. By the way, I never did get signed in, so.
Wow. It's a real bummer.
Yeah.
I think you're going to need a hard copy of that.
Probably. I'll just tape it up on the wall right next to me.
Well, interestingly enough,
tell you what, Linode, I'll do a second read later in the show because that one was awful. It's my gift to you.
On the house.
On the house. It's like a radio announcer stumbling over a mattress ad.
What story were we just doing?
The Activision Blizzard takeover being looked at by the FTC.
Interestingly enough, Jeff, there's another acquisition that's going to be subject to government approval.
Yep.
Much smaller deal.
This one's going to be handled by the interns. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean it's only $3.6 billion. Right. That's chump change
as opposed to the $69 billion.
Yeah, nice. But Sony is buying Bungie, and this deal is kind of interesting because, you know, obviously I don't think it's one of these things that's not set in stone, and actually right at the top they say they've entered into definitive talks,
right?
Which apparently to the knowledgeable folks means that it's definitely happening,
right? It's essentially to zero in on the stock price that they're going to pay,
right?
You know.
Right. But the goal, of course, is to let Bungie keep their independence. But what's really interesting is all the news that people are putting together makes it sound as though one of Bungie's real interests is branching out of games. It sounds like they're really interested in looking at becoming like a multimedia company, which I think with like Sony's support could be like a really interesting and cool idea. Like, I don't know. I don't think Bungie owns Halo anymore necessarily. Me and Jeff were trying to piece this together. I should have just looked it up. But anyway, the Halo trailer looks dope. So imagine like Bungie getting the money and the resource together to do like a Destiny TV show or something like that. That could be kind of neat. In fact, yeah, I think it was the CEO of Bungie himself said that, yeah, they want to become a global multimedia entertainment company.
Well, everyone does.
Right.
I mean, that's my goal.
It could be kind of interesting. Like, Bungie hasn't really whiffed that often, and I'm not sitting here rooting for a multi-billion-dollar company. You'll never see me do that. But it could be interesting. I don't know.
Come on, Rhett. Why don't you think of the little guys over at Bungie?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know what? All of the grunt workers over there, y'all got my undivided support. But yeah, it doesn't sound like that Sony really wants to interrupt what they're doing. They don't plan on making Bungie titles exclusive. I don't think that they want to just make every Bungie game like a PlayStation exclusive title.
Right.
Which at this point, I don't know. I feel like it sells you more consoles, but at the same time,
consoles aren't where they make their money.
Right.
Services and games are.
Right. So who knows? Another interesting deal that could happen. We'll see. Time will tell. $3.6 billion.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see a Destiny TV show announced in the next several years.
And then Destiny 2 that everyone will hate because it wasn't Destiny 1.
Yeah. Naturally.
Right.
And then Destiny 3, the movie, will come out and everybody will be like, wow, I can't believe that they brought back the first director to do that again. And just did
this is just a rehash of Destiny 1. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Anyway. Yeah, everyone wants to know about Halo. What does that mean for Halo? Bungie, while they were the original studio that was contracted to produce Halo is owned by 343, which is owned by Microsoft.
There you go.
And so Microsoft, while they have used Bungie in the past, they own all rights for production of Halo.
There you go.
That is internal. That is an internal thing. So, yeah, owned and published by Microsoft Game Studios. Exactly.
There you go. Have you guys seen the trailer for the Halo show, though? Like, it looks pretty good, right? Like, I'm kind of excited for that.
I had some trepidation going in. I'm actually a little excited to see it now.
It doesn't look that bad. Like, no. And what's cool, I don't know. This is the thing. Like, I loved Halo 1 and 2 came out at like the prime time for my young brain to just soak in all the science fiction. And I read as many books as I could get my hands on. And I actually kind of liked the novelizations of some of like the Halo extended universe stuff, especially the Fall of Reach. Like, that book just stuck with me. And so yeah, getting a TV show that kind of touches base on some of these things that I read about and some of the early Halo concepts. Like,
I hear it's being written by Rian Johnson. Like, that could be pretty cool.
Okay, I doubt that it is, but it would be cool, dude. Rian Johnson's the shit, man. We've all seen Looper, Knives Out, and his masterpiece, The Last Jedi.
Bring us full circle to where we started today.
Yeah. Speaking, though, of like Halos, though, like, is everybody up to speed on Boba Fett? Because
I haven't watched today's. I have not.
Okay, that's fine though.
Yeah,
but I have audio evidence that you watched the episode I'm talking about.
Okay.
With the ring planet thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was dope, right?
That
was like, when I saw that, I was thinking to myself, this is one of the coolest Star Wars set pieces ever. Yeah. It looked so cool. The fact he's walking around, he's going to the bar, he's doing this, then he wants to go to the substrata.
Yeah.
All this, like, so cool.
Yep. Yeah, no, the fact that that's now Star Wars canon just makes me happy.
That was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was editing this video. I
love the day-night transitions that they did.
Yeah, that was so cool. So sick. It looked epic, man. And I'm sitting there editing this video for Jeff, and I'm like, what is that sound? And I was like, yo, is that the beginning of that Boba Fett episode? And then, of course, I fast forward through some of the cuts, Yeah. This dude is filming B-roll, and he's got Boba Fett on the background.
Yep.
Good for you.
Yep.
Made my day. I was glad you could watch it. Probably, like, for the most part, like, uninterrupted, too. You probably had the door closed.
That was great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. The sound design, though, so recognizable that the first 5 minutes of that episode, I could tell you're watching Boba Fett.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No. What did you think of episode 5 of essentially the Mandalorian season 2 episode 11? Like, what did you think of Boba Fett episode 5?
I thought it was dope.
I thought it was wonderful.
I thought it was dope.
Yeah.
It was like, people kind of knocked on it for like, well, I want more Boba Fett and all this sort of stuff. But like, you know, all the TV shows I love, like they have this laser focus on story or plot or whatever, but they always have like a couple episodes where it's like just a day in the life, the character's chilling.
Right.
And on one hand, it would have been nice to have that for Boba. And, you know, obviously, full spoiler alert, if you guys haven't watched this, like Boba Fett episode 5 is exclusively The Mandalorian.
Right. Boba's not in his own show.
No, but I thought it was great, man. The opening fight, the Darksaber, getting to talk about the Death Watch Mandalorians,
getting to watch some of the spoiler, getting to watch some of the decimation of Mandalore.
Dude, that was so sick. Dude. Terminator 2 Judgment Day status right there, man.
T2 Judgment Day with TIE bombers. Like, holy crap, what a scene that was.
And then to find out that the episode was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, man, like she has done some great TV.
Yes.
She's just nailing it.
Yeah. The return of the N1 Starfighter, handcrafted for the Naboo Royal Guard.
See, I thought that was so sick. And to me, like, this is my favorite. I tweeted about this a little bit, but like one of my favorite things about Star Wars is that like a thing can be on screen and before you know it, it has an entire backstory. It has a toy line. All of the bounty hunters from Empire are proof of this. IG-88. Boba Fett has his own TV show, and all he basically said was,
Boba Fett had like 12 lines in the entire original trilogy. Okay.
Yeah.
He has 3 seasons of a TV show because of the lore that was written about him.
Right. Exactly. Jeans guy in The Mandalorian.
Blue jeans guy
has a toy. Blue jeans guy. Okay. Now the stupid stick that they stop the trash compactor with in the
You'd be amazed what the Empire throws away.
What was it? It was
a combustion reaction chamber or something like.
Yeah. God, what's the word for coal? You know, the freezing thing.
Yeah, cryo.
Cryogenic combustion.
Yeah.
Damn it. Anyway, it was a stupid forward thing.
Yeah, but now it's part of the reaction that powers his Nabooian N1 Starfighter. And it's sitting right alongside the tail section.
Yes.
So Phil from Jay's 2 Cents, Felicious over on Twitter, he goes, the custom car guy and me absolutely freaked the F out over Boba Fett episode 5. Go watch Boba Fett episode 5 and tell me you don't get hard watching that. Sorry for the graphic, but that was such a great episode. And what they did with the Naboo Starfighter, I think, is quintessential Star Wars, because you make do with what you have. Here he is on Tatooine. He doesn't have the Razor Crest anymore. He needs a new ship. You know what? I have this old N1. Let's see if we can rebuild it. Let's customize it. Let's throw this thing on here. Hey, it's exempt from regulations, or it's smog exempt because it's pre-1980. Oh, sorry, pre-Empire. Which was 1980.
But see, the one of the cool things too is he's so cheesily says it, but he's like wizard.
Wizard. Yeah.
What a great callback.
Yeah.
To
Anakin jumping out of the
the pod racer or whatever, like, right? It was from the pod racer, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, could be wrong, but regardless, Anakin says it in the Phantom Menace, and that's one of the things that I've been loving about some of the new Star Wars is it takes some of the things that like rubbed people the wrong way and it makes them cool and fresh.
Right.
Like when the Mandalorian says wizard about a starship that like you may or may not like because of its association with a movie that you may or may not like that is so cool. And that was one of my favorite things about The Last Jedi was when Luke is like, what, do you expect me to go out there with my laser sword? Like, dude, some people tell me they audibly groaned about that, but like, motherfucker Luke Skywalker. Oh, sorry. Luke Skywalker is going out there and is calling it a laser sword. It's a laser sword, dude. If the Mandalorian is going to say wizard, that's a wizard word, man.
I will say the least of the prequel trilogy's problems were in the visual art area. Like, as much as we, as Star Wars fans, moan and groan about the storytelling, the dialogue, the
or Jar Jar Binks,
or the 3-episode long political drama. Like, if I wanted that, I'd go watch The West Wing. Like,
or Game of Thrones.
Right. As much as everyone complains about that from the prequels, the visuals for the most part still hold up today. Even though half of it was shot on a green screen. I mean, there are some aspects of it that are absolutely, like the pod race scene,
gorgeous.
The pod race scene is incredible. The entirety of Coruscant, whenever they're on planet, just looks spectacular. It's almost too busy, but it has this realism about it that is just fantastic.
So great.
The entire the landscape of Naboo,
gorgeous.
I will say the Gungan city doesn't quite hold up.
Yeah, you know, and some of those like pure CGI scenes,
right,
especially when they're dealing with a lot of characters that are CGI. But what's weird is the Phantom Menace holds up visually much better than Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Which Attack of the Clones is probably the weakest, easily the weakest of the prequels.
Yes.
But it was interesting to me to see how weak it was, because then you go to Revenge of the Sith, which is markedly better than Attack of the Clones. Yes. And I don't know why that is or what it like. Attack was sort of in that weird era where everybody wanted to do everything with CGI, and like, didn't like Shrek come out around Attack of the Clones or like they're about like, I was just watching Shrek earlier and I was thinking to myself, this looked amazing back in the day. And it has references to like, you know, The Matrix Reloaded and stuff.
2002. So. Yes.
Wow.
And Shrek came out 2001.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
They were almost exactly a year apart. April 2001, May 2002.
Wow.
Because episode 1, I want to say, came out late 99.
I think it was even a little bit earlier than that.
Let's see. Phantom Menace, May 19th, 1999.
Wow. And then
I remember it being pre-2000. I remember it being pre-2000.
Yeah, it was definitely in the 90s.
Because 97, the original trilogy got the remaster and the re-release in theaters and whatnot. I remember going to all those.
I went and saw Return of the Jedi, which was the only of the original series that I saw in theaters. I was sick. And we were driving past the Lancaster Mall, and my dad was like, "Do you want to see that movie?" I was like, "Yeah." We waited in line.
Yeah. The Net Guy sends over $10. Thank you very much. Since you probably both got demonetized tonight, here's some hard cash for your Monday through Friday show, or for your Monday through Friday show, as the clean Samuel L. Jackson would probably say.
Yeah.
I feel dirty. I agree with Rhett about the new Halo series.
And my opinions aren't all bad, Net Guy. Some of them are good.
Right. Andrew sends over $20. The Mysterious Green Stranger. My dad tested a 10-second car one time outside his engine shop, and the police showed up. They were nice and said, "Don't do it again." The entire N1 Starfighter scene reminded me of my father in his shop working on muscle cars.
Right.
It totally had that chopper strip everything for weight that we can kind of feel to it. Yeah, I loved that entire scene. I loved everything about it.
Yeah, me too. And that's what's so cool about some of these episodes. And as much as the episode of Boba Fett with the biker gang or whatever gets
gang.
knocked,
yeah,
the swoop gang,
I love that too.
It was dope.
Right.
What is okay, I will grant everybody that the chase scene was it looked kind of silly.
Yeah.
But that's it, man. I've been watching decades of silly looking TV. I'm not going to dock points from Boba Fett when I've watched Babylon 5 or Star Trek The Next Generation or Firefly or any of these other space shows that looked and still look kind of silly sometimes.
Ooh, Stargate.
Yes. Even that,
don't get me wrong, Stargate is a wonderful show, but the effects do not hold up to modern scrutiny.
It looks silly, man, but we're science fiction fans.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes we got to deal with silly. I was talking to my wife earlier this week about some people hating on Boba Fett, and they're like, they ruined a great character. And let me remind you that Boba Fett's shining moment in cinema was being hit in the back by Han Solo with some weird axe thing while he's trying to save Lando. He flies into Jabba's sail barge and gets eaten by the Sarlacc. That was the demise of the great Mandalore. And yeah, so he wasn't a great character. He was dark and intimidating in Empire Strikes Back, and then we see him loading him on to Slave One at the end of it for Cloud City. But he was just this brooding bounty hunter. That's all we knew about him.
Yeah.
So
he didn't catch any life until the toys, but yeah, and then even the books, did some good for him. I remember reading the original Han Solo trilogy. And Han Solo, when he eventually abandons some spice for Jabba between books, you don't even read about it. Right. And that's how he gets a price on his head from Jabba. Right. And Jabba sends Boba Fett after him.
Yeah.
And him and Chewie fight Boba. It's this epic scene. It's crazy. He manages to outmaneuver him and try to throw him off a little bit. And then he goes off and fights. Strangely enough, I'm pretty sure that the writers of Rogue One took the Battle of Scarif at the end. That feels remarkably similar to the final book of the Han Solo trilogy, in which his girlfriend is in the rebellion and they go and fight on a tropical sand planet. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Yep. So anyway. There feels like there's some influences there.
Well, I think it's great. That's one of my favorite things. I wasn't sure when Disney declared the extended universe non-canon.
Right.
I wasn't sure what that would mean. But then the more they go on, I think it's really cool that they take the good stuff and they repurpose it. And they've mostly made it better in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like Rogue One being kind of an example of that, where they took this battle that was in this book, maybe. I don't know. There's lots of other examples, but I can't.
Yeah, there's been a dozen things written about how the Death Star plans were retrieved, even in video game form with Dark Forces. That's Mission 1 in Dark Forces. Is you stealing the Death Star plans by infiltrating an Imperial base and getting out alive with them on the Crow. So yeah, but as I told my wife, because I was venting to her about all the Star Wars fans complaining, it's no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. And she goes, do you mean Star Trek? And I said, no, I mean Star Wars fans. They hate everything about Star Wars. They nitpick it to death to the point where you can't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah,
it drives me nuts.
It's pretty tough. I said that earlier in the Talking Heads Discord, where I was like, no, I'm one of the rare Star Wars fans that likes more movies than I dislike.
I'm over 50%. Like
I thought it was a genius comment. Nobody agreed with me necessarily.
I think that's hilarious.
That's all right.
And I don't think you're wrong.
No, it's just one of those things. It's like, and then somebody said it. Lorcy said it, that it was. It's like, well, I love Star Wars, but I can't say that I'm a fan because they're so bad.
Right.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Anyway, you know what's not bad? Today's video sponsor, Linode, and this is the first time I'm reading this. Today's episode of Talking Heads is brought to you by Linode. If you've ever needed to host your own servers, whether it be for home or business use, but don't have the resources or time to invest into hardware, power, cooling, or even space, why not let Linode host them for you? If it runs on Linux, it will run on Linode. That includes the software for most of the tutorials on my channel, like how to run your own ad-blocking recursive DNS server, VPN gateway, your own cloud-based Plex server, and more. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. Even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site, because remember, RAID is not a backup. Linode also recently announced they are the first alternative cloud provider to have NVMe block storage available to all customers. In September, they began rolling out NVMe drives to all 11 of their global data centers. Best of all, storage rates will remain at the same low price they always have been. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing, and again, a huge thanks to Linode for putting up with me.
Nice.
Thank you, Linode.
Well done. You did it.
I did it. I did it. Wizard.
Sorry, I was trying to look up one of the Star Wars books.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to open my second beer because I just recently finished my first one.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, I didn't open up anything fancy, so I didn't see the need to describe it. But I opened a pub beer.
Oh, there you go.
By 10 Barrel. It's really good, 5%. Just a cheap, easy drinking lager.
Yeah. I'm kind of going easy drinking on my second one as well. I've got a Ratchet Brewing Moto Floozy. It is a blonde ale clocking in at 5.7%.
I love Ratchet Brewing.
You know Ratchet Brewing. You know Dan and Julie.
Oh yeah, they're big breweries right in my
way over there in Silverton, Oregon.
Oh yeah,
they are some fun people to hang out with.
Heck yeah. So somebody was asking me, and I was typing out the answer, but anyway, I think it was Bars and Pone. He asked, how do I know if they reference the EU or not? There's so much. Could have just been monkeys on typewriters. And I said, I don't know. It's there's just a lot of coincidences, whatever. And I was gonna describe how, like, I did mention how Rey kind of looks like Bastila from KOTOR. But then beyond that, like, one of the things that most people really hate is like kind of the final showdown of The Last Jedi when Luke shows up and kind of squares off with Kylo Ren. There is a book, and I think it was called Fate of the Jedi, and maybe not though. Maybe that's anyway. Regardless, in it, there's two solo children, Jason and Jaina, and Jason goes off to become Darth Krayt, and he is trying to unite the remnants of the Empire, and that's Han Solo and Leia's son. Yep. And Luke goes and fights him as like a projection, as like a force projection hologram thing. And it's like this epic scene in the books. And nobody who read it was like, this is stupid. And so that's like just another example of something that I think that they took that was cool in the books and sort of like repurposed it.
Yes.
For
I will say the Luke projection scene was freaking awesome. I don't hate The Last Jedi. I don't hate The Force Awakens.
How could you?
I don't.
It's amazing. Both of those are good movies.
I hate the third one. I hate
the third one
The Rise
is
of Skywalker. I hate
garbage.
everything about it.
So bad. Look, we're going to rehash this conversation every single time I'm on because people love to make me talk about Star Wars. Rise sucks. It's so bad. Yeah. And all you have to do to realize that it's bad is the fact that Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber comes back without a single explanation as to why. Right. It explodes in The Last Jedi. Its explosion causes people to like become unconscious.
Yep.
It literally dictates the plot of the movie, and it just magically comes back. And then they all use it one by one to defeat Emperor Palpatine, who for some reason is back. Stupid hot dog garbage. Anyway, but yeah, it's just kind of, it's interesting. It's cool how they repurpose those things and bring them back. I mean, honestly, even the Emperor coming back, that's EU. That's from the book. Yeah. You know who kills him though in the extended universe? Han Solo, baby.
Right.
Luke Skywalker falls to the dark side and becomes Emperor Palpatine's apprentice. And Han Solo goes, caps him, shoots him right in the head.
Yep. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Han Solo, the true hero.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on from the Star Trek talk. This is totally the wrong border for that. I'm going to have to create like a Star Wars border for the...
I don't even know what that looked like. I mean, we could get into Star Trek. It's a little weird to me that like Star Trek fans don't like Discovery, because I think Discovery is kind of cool.
Don't.
I'm not even trolling though. Like, it's kind of fine.
I understand where you're coming from, but you're also baiting me into a conversation, and I'm not going to fall for it because we have more news to get to. Maybe at the end you can rebait me.
Yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of Morrowind as the worst game ever made,
speaking of bait,
right. I know your buttons too, man. So for those of you who are tinkerers or home labbers, but maybe don't have the money for entire racks of servers or whatever else, the Raspberry Pi has always been a fantastic alternative. I have a number of them here at home. I run a number of them for different things. I've got a RetroArch or a RetroPie box. I've got an Octoprint server for my 3D printers. And it runs great. And the Raspberry Pi is a fantastic tool for those types of things. I also use one as a remote client for one of my cloud gaming rigs. And it works fantastic. I've got a Raspberry Pi 400 set up for that. But has anyone else noticed it's been really tough to get a hold of them lately? Well, you're kind of not alone. So Jeff Geerling, you all know Jeff Geerling. You should know Jeff Geerling. If you don't know Jeff Geerling, go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Has been informed of a new website called the RPi Locator. And what this is an aggregate site that scans the inventory of all Raspberry Pi official retailers and sees if there is stock available. This is for the Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. This is for the compute module for the Raspberry Pi Zero W2 and the Raspberry Pico. And calculates everything. Every single model that they have, all 35 different models of the compute module, from the 1 gigabyte with no internal storage to the 8 gigabyte with 64 gigs of MMC and so on and so forth, to the multiple variants of the Pi 4. It's all there from just about every country they sell them in. And it's kind of sparse out there. There's not a lot out in Pi land. They seem to be running into the same silicon shortage that we all are for every other industry, whether it's GPU, CPU, motherboard, car, automotive, infotainment centers, smart toasters, printer cartridges that report back to Canon how much ink you used. Yeah.
And then stop you at 33% ink left.
Right. I'm trying to print in black. I'm sorry, I'm out of cyan. What? Yeah. So it's not just your imagination. The Raspberry Pi 4 and pretty much all Raspberry Pi equipment is kind of in short supply. This is both according to his blog as well as the RPi Locator website. You can kind of see an aggregate right here. Are they in stock? There's one Pi CM4 2 gig with 32 gigs MMC and Wi-Fi available, and then everything else says no.
And is that in Canada? CN?
No, compute module. Raspberry Pi CM4.
No. At the store.
Oh,
Seed
CN?
Studio.
Yeah, okay, yeah, CN. It's either Canada or China. CA is usually Canada.
Oh, yeah.
CN's usually China. Yeah. But, yeah, US, UK. Who knows? Seed Studio might be China, might be Canada.
Yeah, that's China.
I don't know.
That's China.
Okay.
No, Google says it's China.
There you go. See? CN's usually China. So, yeah.
So, there you go. It's in China.
Eben Upton, the CEO of the Raspberry Pi Foundation, has said that they are working on building back up stock. They are working on producing 150,000 units this quarter and nearly 500,000 units next quarter compared to 250,000 units in the entirety of 2021. So they are very much hoping that stock picks back up, and they are focusing a lot on the 2 and 4 gigabyte modules, not so much on the 8 gigabyte modules, because those are kind of outside the scope of availability for the less fortunate, which is where the Raspberry Pi Foundation focuses a lot of their efforts. They focus on getting computers and technology into the hands of people who might not otherwise be able to afford it, or developing countries, or tinkerers, or things like that. And the 8 gigabyte model, while it's very popular for people like me who want to run it as a file server or an Octoprint server or a RetroArch box or whatever else, it's not their best-selling model by a long shot. Right. Nor is it the best-selling model in the compute modules, because the compute modules are plugging into things that don't need a lot of RAM anyway. They're plugging into tablets and controller boards for drones and file servers and things like that. So, yeah, if you're wanting one of the higher-end models, there's not a lot out there. And there probably isn't going to be a lot out there in the near future. But hopefully, a lot of the mid-range stuff, the 2 and 4 gigabyte CM4s and Raspberry Pi 4 Model Bs, maybe even the Picos will start becoming available again. So, we can only hope. Yeah. But no, it's not your imagination that you cannot buy a Raspberry Pi right now. Really, no one can. This kind of feels like Fry in Futurama when he says, no one drives in New York. There's too much traffic. No one can buy a Raspberry Pi. They sell out too quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, what's funny is I was reading some of the comments on that post, and one guy was like, I just bought 1,000 units.
Right.
I was like, thanks, guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're buying 1,000 units. Maybe you're doing something useful with them. So I'll give him that. But
right.
Made me laugh.
He's mining NFTs.
Yeah. He's got to get his Ethereum so he can keep buying NFTs. He's just waiting for the next Bored Ape.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully soon we'll be able to start buying things in stock again.
Fingers crossed.
I did get an RTX 3090 at retail price yesterday.
Wow. What does it feel like to be one of the elite?
Whew, baby.
You're like a graphics card 1%er.
I really am. And it ticks me off because I paid $2,700 for my Founders Edition 3090. So it just goes to show how bad the market is right now, that getting a 3090 EVGA XC3 at only $1,730 feels like a win. Right?
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm still at a place where talking about on a personal level, like professionally, I was fine with dropping $100,000 on servers. Like, did it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, signing off on $250,000 transactions, like that was part of my regular job. On the personal level, spending $1,000 on like single pieces of hardware, that was still never.
Right.
Like I had acquired some nice gear over the years, but I was always a generation or two behind, and I would look for the absolute cheapest unit that I could buy, and that followed all the way up through my Threadripper 2950X. I bought that CPU used for $600, and that was the most money I'd ever spent on a CPU ever. Probably among the most money I'd ever spent on a single component ever. And all of a sudden in the last year, I've bought a 6900 XT, I've bought a 3090, I bought a second 3090, I bought an Epic 7601 32 core chip for $700. I bought the board to go with it for $500. I bought 256 gigs of DDR registered ECC memory for $750. Like, all of a sudden it's like adding up, and it still feels so incredibly weird that this is my job now, is I get to buy stuff to tinker with all the time. And people pay me to do it.
Well, how boring would it be? I mean, you know, if you couldn't continually experiment and buy new gear and mess with stuff and tinker, like, what are you doing then? You know,
right? If I'm not having fun, then why am I even doing this?
Right.
It's a lot of fun. Speaking of which, help fund my hardware addiction. Join the Patreon. Link is down below.
That's the key. You guys are the key. You watch our videos. You join us on Patreon. You super chat us.
I'm gonna have to start doing keep Rhett's family fed. Little Sarah McLachlan in the background.
Yeah, we're gonna have to real pull on the sympathy strings here.
For just $1 a month, you can feed a family of 3.
Yeah.
In the arms of...
We all, you know, we can do beans and rice, but for how long?
Right. For how long? And is that any way to live?
Exactly. I mean, look around, guys. Is this a beans and rice kind of place? You're making me look bad.
Right. You need to take the artwork down and just leave the wire behind.
What, you don't like my my IKEA...
I'm saying I love it, but I'm having a hard time selling this right now.
Okay, my bad. My wife put it up so that she could look professional.
Could you get like a grease stain down one cheek or something? Like, just go.
Why?
Like,
what's happening?
No, I said, could you grind
yeah.
yourself
you
up
want me to
bit.
get a little Oliver Twist going on?
Right. Please, sir, I'd like some more.
You want me to look like, you know, I could do that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Like Net Guy wants me to go back to the raggedy old. Here, wait, I think I still got it right here. Here's my old one. I don't even know if it'll fit.
Yeah, I got to get the ratty wind cover. There you go. I love that it's ripping as you're putting it on there.
No, it was already ripped. It's too small to fit. I've had to explain this on the show many times. It was too small to fit the microphone, so I ripped it.
Is that a problem you have often?
Yes.
Okay.
I rip things.
Speaking of ripping things, SpaceX is ripping customers a new one with a brand new premium plan that will only cost you $500 per month. That's a 500% increase over the existing speeds. Starlink, for those who don't know, is SpaceX's / Tesla money daddy, whoever, Elon. His vision of a wireless internet future where you can be free from the bounds of existing conglomerates and instead be bound to a different conglomerate. Not that I'm not trying to get Starlink service here. I totally am. I'm on the waiting list. Up from the standard speeds of 50 to 250 megabit per second and an upload of 10 to 20 megabits. They have essentially doubled that and actually tripled on the low end from 50 to 150 as a guaranteed minimum up to 500 megabit per second for a download and between 20 and 40 megabit per second on the premium plan for an upload. This privilege will cost a lot more than their standard service, which is just $99 per month and $500 to start up. Instead, you will have to pay $2,500 for hardware, and it requires a $500 deposit. But if you are that much in need of high-speed internet and don't have any other options, it's still a hell of a lot cheaper to Usenet. I can tell you that much. So this is being sold as the high-performance antenna, and you can pre-order it now if that's totally your thing.
There you go.
I think I need to get a referral code for Starlink because we talk about Starlink a lot on the show. Not
Yeah, we do.
Not a lot, but it comes up in a lot of shows, I should say.
Yeah. I have been seeing that it's, I mean, obviously part of the, part of the condition of being on Starlink service, now is that like it's not going to be like a 24/7 type thing because their constellations aren't completed. But I have been seeing a lot of conversations on Twitter and stuff just about how the service fails to live up to what was advertised, especially for early adopters and stuff like this.
What? From a test?
Yeah.
No.
I know. I didn't need to say it, but I did say it. I mean, yeah. It's interesting because you can go back and like watch my evolution of like enthusiasm for Starlink over Talking Heads because like I'm pretty sure I was on the show when like Starlink was like first announced and then it was launched and then it I don't know. And now I've come full circle on it where it's like, I'm glad that it could be a good service for people that need access, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yep.
So far out of my hands that it really doesn't matter. But it would be interesting to get your hands on it, see how it works.
That's right. Yeah.
See how it performs.
Yeah, I'm very curious myself. I mean, the upload speed is nothing to get excited about, especially only 20 megabit per second. I have 50 and I still would like a lot more because it still takes sometimes upwards of 90 minutes to upload videos to both YouTube and Floatplane. And I'd like it to be faster than that. I'd like it to be more efficient. I'd like to be able to hit upload and 15 minutes later be able to hit publish, but that's unfortunately not the reality I live in. Even with the fastest in-home from Comcast, Xfinity, Comcast. Yeah. How do we even talk about this next one?
God, I don't know. Is this like the NFTs of
Yes. Well, this is the Facebook-ish. This is the metaverse. This is the digital life. But
what really pains me is the name
a digital
Decentraland. Have you seen that?
Yes. Like I said, how do I even talk about this with a straight face? I don't know. Because it is so absurd.
Yeah.
It is laughably absurd. Laughably absurd, but also somewhat...
How fast people latched onto this stupid idea of the metaverse. Why can't they latch on to good ideas? this fast.
Do you remember when Futurama got on the internet for the first time?
Yeah.
And they literally like plugged cables into the back of their heads and let's search the web.
Yeah.
It's over there.
Yeah.
Right. That's the metaverse. Like,
and then he downloaded
we've
Lucy
evolved
Lou.
from The Simpsons did it first to now Futurama did it first. We've gone that much further in technology. That I just don't know. I don't know how to talk about this. Miller Lite, I'll just read the headline and we'll go from there. Miller Lite is turning virtual cheers into real-life beers at the Meta Lite Bar in Decentraland. Which isn't a place. It's a made-up space in the metaverse, which is either in virtual reality or not. But you can go to a virtual bar, buy a virtual beer with actual money, cheers someone, and then maybe eventually get an actual beer for your virtual beer dollars that you spent.
How do you maybe actually get a beer in real life for your virtual beer money? How does that happen? Is it in the article?
I don't know. Hold on. This gets me. Welcome to the Meta Life Bar, the first ever brand hosted bar in the metaverse and the only place you'll catch Miller Lite's big game ad. If it's the only place I'll see the big game ad, otherwise known as the Superb Owl ad, Superb Owl, there we go. Because I can't say the other word. Then it's not a big game ad, is it? Yeah. If the only place I can see the big game ad is in the metaverse in a place that doesn't exist, not watching the game from the metaverse bar, then it's not a big game ad. You're now Animal Planet's dog bowl.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like a better investment to buy ad space on Animal Planet during Superb Owl Sunday than it does to buy metaverse ad space.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love this line here in this article. Miller Lite has a long history of imaginative advertising, both in and out of the quote-unquote big game. By the way, why the hell is the big game
Miller Lite spelled Bud Light wrong? Because those are the ads that I remember.
Yeah. Why is big game in quotes though? Like, we all know what the big game is. Why do they have to put it in quotes every single time they mention it?
Because of the...
Like, it's every single time.
No, I know. It's because you have to essentially give credit to the fact that you do not own rights to the Super Bowl. But you still have to call it by an official name because it is a proper noun. Super Bowl is a proper noun as the name of an event, but you cannot use that name of an event in print or in advertising unless you pay royalty dollars for it. And
I get that, but like, why the quotation?
Because
every time,
if you capitalize big game without giving credit, then you have essentially misused the noun.
Oh God!
And are subject to trademark laws. Like it is so convoluted.
Well, they say that Miller Lite has a long history of imaginative advertising. I argue that the Superb Owl has a long history of imaginative advertising. So much so that this journalist uses big game in quotes.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, I don't know. What's hilarious to me about this whole thing is, you can be the first to catch the big game ad in the metaverse, and to celebrate the premiere of their ad, the Meta Lite Bar will have limited quantities of exclusive wearable Miller Lite NFT swag. So like, when they say this is what's hilarious to me. Exclusive wearable.
Can I wear that in World of Warcraft?
Right. Well, I was really hoping to wear it in Call of Duty so everybody knows that I drink Miller Lite and they can teabag me.
Right. I mean, I'd
Can
rather
you teabag
be teabagged than drink Miller Lite.
Well, I mean,
so you were wondering how you convert virtual beers into real beers. Well, let me read the following paragraph. Before and on the big game, go virtual to get your real, in italics, Sunday football celebration paid for by Miller Lite with virtual cheers for real beers giveaway. It's easy to enter. Visit the Lite Bar in Decentraland via millerlite.com/MetaLiteBar. Pour yourself a beer from the golden bar tap and follow the prompt to instantly learn if you've won. From February 7th to February 13th, an average of 10 patrons daily will win $500 cash. Real, not crypto. To stock in real life game day parties with great tasting Miller Lite and more. Stop by to bring the complete Lite Bar experience and beer home. So
stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And I certainly don't want to live in the metaverse.
We found a way to make things that are stupid already even more stupid.
By monetizing stupid. I mean, we were already really good at monetizing stupid, but it's rolled back onto itself.
Like, there's something that it's extra stupid to me about having to explain when you win $500 cash, that it's real cash, not crypto. But like, in order to, whatever.
Yeah.
Also, look, okay.
I love that they had to specify that it was real cash and not fake cash like crypto.
Also,
in the metaverse.
Okay. What is this website? PR Newswire?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this website at all? Because
yeah, they write opinion pieces on press releases.
Because one thing that really pains me, this is stupid. I'm getting into the weeds of stupid.
They are a promotion company. They are a PR firm.
Well, I hate them.
Tell them I hate them. The Futurama
write
quotes
them a
are
letter.
Just there.
I think there's a Ron Swanson take in here too. Like, I'm going to write them a letter to say that they suck. I don't know the quote though. Sorry. But they say an average of 10 patrons daily will win $500 cash. Real, not crypto.
Right. From the metaverse.
To stock, quote, IRL game day parties.
Right.
They used the worst gaming acronym of all time.
Right.
IRL. I hate them. Anyway.
Yeah.
I feel bad. This could have been a good, like, no, it couldn't have been.
Like I said, I don't even know how to talk about that. I don't.
It's stupid. Your idea, the metaverse is stupid. And here's the thing. Look, I read good, okay? To celebrate the premiere, you have limited quantities of exclusive wearable Miller Lite NFT swag for registered Decentraland users. So
exclusive limited quantity of, again, a digital asset.
Right, that's your digital asset. But what's weird is like they don't necessarily specify that it's a digital asset either.
Well, you know it's a digital asset because it's where in the metaverse. But
they don't necessarily say
that's implied because you're visiting it via the metaverse and they have
I get that, but you're also winning real cash.
Right, but they had to specify not crypto there. They didn't say you win real wearables.
You're really going against the grain when I said I read good, Jeff.
I know. And context matters.
It does matter. I just think it's stupid. I think it's stupid that they have people reading this and it's like, now you and your avatar can enjoy Miller time. Get a wearable NFT. The problem is this: is that I literally envision a world where somebody buys a Bored Ape NFT, they go to their favorite screen printers and print it out, thinking that they have a one-of-a-kind T-shirt, when in reality they sent their screen printer a MF and JPEG,
a Monday through Friday JPEG,
Monday through Friday JPEG. A 40-hour-a-week JPEG, Jeff.
Yep.
I just envision, like, look, you're right. This is my problem. Sure.
How's that dragon's milk, Rhett?
It's out. I wish I had more. The whole thing's stupid. I hate the metaverse and I hate NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else to say about it.
Right. If this was the Matrix, sure. If this even was... I'm even going to pump the brakes and say... I was going to say if this was virtual reality, sure. Even if this is virtual reality, screw it. This is stupid.
Yeah.
There are 1,000,001 better and more efficient ways to monetize something than whatever the bloody hell Facebook is trying to do right now.
Yep.
I know Facebook just announced Meta like 3 months ago. Why is all of a sudden every company going Metaverse capable? Like, why is every single company at every turn saying we're going to be hugely invested in the Metaverse? Like, you don't even know what the Metaverse is.
They didn't even know what NFTs were.
Right.
And here we are.
Well, see, you can sell people something without actually selling them something. And they're like, I'm in. Like, that one's easy to explain. But
when you have technologically illiterate, accountants being like, Facebook, you guys know, the rich company, they're making this thing called the Metaverse. You guys in or out? It's Decentraland, baby. We are decentralized. You guys like that word too,
right? It's all in the blockchain, in the ether.
Yeah. There's no rules in Decentraland.
Right.
Like, come on, baby. The government can't reach us there.
Right.
We can sell virtual beers to minors. Huh?
Actually, they specified you have to be 21 and over to enter the virtual Metaverse pub.
Oh, God.
They did.
How are they going to enforce that? How are they going to enforce that?
No idea. No idea.
Click, are you 21 and over?
Right. Bigger news to get to. Bigger, more relevant, actually makes sense news.
Please, thank God. Let's get to something normal.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. The decompilation is complete. And we knew that very shortly we would be seeing a PC port of it. Well, it seems that sooner is now, with a developer showing off the PC port of Ocarina of Time in full widescreen 1080p HD glory, fully working. Still with bugs. It's got some bugs to work out. But you can compile your own Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time binary for Windows PCs today.
Heck yes.
Yes. I started working on mine. I got Visual Studio installed. I don't have Windows subsystem for Linux on the PC that I do that stuff on, so I started installing that and then just kind of gave up because I had other stuff to do today. But yeah, hopefully within the next day or two, I'm going to get this compiled, and I'm going to play Ocarina of Time on my PC with an Xbox One controller like God intended.
I dig it. I dig it. Yeah, this is a pretty cool use of, I guess reverse engineering of these old games. And I don't know if you could call it like an archival effort. I really don't know what the purpose would be other than to do it and have it and play it on PC. But it's super cool nonetheless. And I think in a way it kind of could potentially bring Ocarina of Time kind of to a whole other generation.
Right. I mean, we've all seen the Mario 64 port, which is fantastic. Ocarina of Time is again one of the highest ranked games of all time as far as being a phenomenal game. And is kind of required playing if you are a fan of the Zelda series. I am super excited to see what comes out of the port, because just getting the port is also kind of the first step. We also know that there have been high-res texture mods for the N64 ROM for a decade. And so people have already been trying to make The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 4K and gorgeous looking, but they've been confined within the 25 megabit space of the original cartridge ROM. You can only do so much, even with expanded memory, when you're trying to emulate it with 8 megabytes of video memory with the expansion pack and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
What happens when you have the full capabilities of PC to go behind it with the full source code available and uncompressed assets and everything else? Like, you could really start to have some fun with a lot of these texture packs and mods and everything else. I mean, one of my favorite things that they did with Mario 64 was integrating Mario Odyssey movesets and Cappy and cap captures and whatnot into the Mario 64 source code, which is just, it turns the entire gameplay on its head. And it's so much fun. And I absolutely love it. And I can't wait to see, let alone the PC port, but what people do with it once they have full access to everything. Because that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This is pretty cool.
Do we start the timer now for Thomas the Tank Engine, or like is there a replacement patch for Epona? Like, I'm wondering where that particular one will fit in. I can't wait until it's also the moon from Majora's Mask. So you got the moon from Majora's Mask that rises up during the night and full cycles, and then you have the Rick and Morty sun.
Yo, there you
coming
go,
over the horizon. Like, I want one than the other.
Dawn of the third day. Well, I guess that's Majora's Mask, but you know what I mean.
Right. But there is so much that you can do with this now that it's fully ported to PC. And I'm here for it. I can't wait to give this a run through.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. And I mean, it's literally one of the capstone 3D games, up there with Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the there's so much that goes into it, and we could sort of dissect things like dungeon design or whatever, but I think what really sets Mario 64 and even Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time apart from a lot of games is, if you've ever found the videos of their development space when they were making these games, the first thing they did was put their animators to work making the run animation feel as good as possible.
Yep. Yeah. These games aren't just notable because they're good games. These games are good games as the first generation of 3D platforming and 3D adventure games.
And they set the bar so high.
They did. They are absolutely works of art. And in a time when these types of games didn't exist yet. Yeah. I mean, we take so much for granted, you know, games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and you diverge out of the Nintendo architect or Nintendo ecosystem, and you go to games like Skyrim and Fallout, and you go to some of the other like Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto. these games were unthought of before the 3D revolution, which started kind of in 95, 96. I mean, you could date Origins all the way back to Wolfenstein 3D and Doom and games like that.
Sure, maybe, but yeah.
Doom was the first one to utilize like a Z-axis in anything. You know, and so there were so many different new avenues that Mario and Zelda 64 were exploiting that we hadn't even come up with yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting when you look at it that way. And I was looking today because I think today, maybe tomorrow, is like the last day of like the Steam sale that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, it's the beginning of February, payday, you know, got a new job that pays me the big bucks.
Minimum
so
wage, baby. Woo!
Yeah, you know it. Not even Oregon's minimum wage, sadly.
No benefits either.
Dental's on me. But yeah, like I was looking at all these games, and you know, I've talked about this before on the show where I really do have like choice paralysis when it comes to a lot of games, and it's not. I can appreciate a lot of games for what they.
I'm just gonna play Morrowind again.
Well, for sure. I can appreciate a lot of games for what they do and what they try to do, what they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't expect every game to be the same or to bring the same things to the table. But I was having a hard time choosing, like, well, what game would I want to buy and play? Because you get in the habit of scrolling down and looking at the reviews, and there's one negative review that says this, that, or the other thing. You're like, well, is this for me? And I started thinking back to this era, like Ocarina of Time in particular, where I was like, remember when this was just like a quintessential game and you just played it because it was like the Nintendo 64
what else
game.
Are we gonna do?
Right, exactly. And you could and it was good.
It's either this or Parappa the Rappa.
Oh god. Okay, so there were some duds, but interestingly enough, like, you know, even back then they managed to pack hours and hours and hours of gameplay. I mean, I don't know how much time I sunk into Ocarina of Time, and even though you could probably blast through it fairly quickly, you still spent a lot of time just screwing around.
Yeah.
And you were happy to do so.
Planting all 9 of those magic beans, you know, like totally did.
Running off and getting the big Goron sword.
Right. Oh, that was essential.
It was crazy how involved that was for a game like that back then. It was like, and it was like time. I remember there was like a timer. You had to like
timed quests inside of that.
Yeah, you had to like sprint across the map. Yeah. I don't know. Just interesting to think back to those days. Like Majora's Mask is kind of that you're on this sort of like artificial clockwork little setup that they have, but the amount of gameplay that they were able to jam pack into this game as you sort of like maneuvered into like, okay, well, you've defeated this dungeon, rewind, let's go back, you unlock this, rewind the clock, now go into the dungeon, do this, that, like the amount that they're able to pack into that is just really good design. I don't know, it's interesting.
We're spoiled these days. And
yeah,
we're also taken advantage of with games like Call of Duty from Activision. And
right. Well, they found out that games.
Don't you guys have phones?
Right. Yeah. Don't get me started. They kind of got the idea that that games as a service was a better financial decision to make. And so all of a sudden you have subscription service games and battle passes and season passes and cosmetics and loot boxes.
Turning your one-time customers into recurring customers and like, more importantly, into recurring revenue.
Right. I was going to buy a game on Steam today, and it was on sale from $60 to $30. And like a review was basically like, well, the game's great. It's like expands on the first one in all the ways that it should, but don't play it without the DLC. But then the DLC was like an extra $20 even while it was on sale. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't that just be a part of the game? You know, like, and it wasn't even that much content. It wasn't really even yeah, it was just so bizarre to see the way that they decided to do it. Now, I just pined for the days where you bought a game.
Remember when we
completed.
bitched about $3 for horse armor?
Yeah, that was really the start of it all. We really can probably blame Bethesda for it all.
Right.
I mean, in Morrowind, they shipped the game with a numerical error that spawned tons of angry cliff racers.
Mm-hmm. And became canon.
And it became canon. Exactly. Why can't they just make their mistakes canon? Why do we have to have DLCs and patches for days?
There's a funny tidbit of Final Fantasy trivia as well. In Final Fantasy II, there is a door overflow exploit that you can take advantage of in one of the dwarven towns in the underworld, where you can clip off the map and essentially wrong warp to memory addresses that don't exist. And it's called the 64 floor glitch. Well, actually, this was known about all the way back in like 1993 and made it to an official strategy guide as canon for someone's like Zeromus's 64 floor or 64 stair tower or something like that. Like avoid, like there was a whole paragraph written about this glitch, but it was written in a way that was canonical to the story of, you know,
right.
Yeah. Death to all who may enter here, kind of thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, and it's funny when things like that can sort of take on a life of their own.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it used to be about, you know? Somebody brings up a perfect example of the glitch that lives on in infamy, which was the Civ Gandhi glitch.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was just like ended up being completely aggressive.
Yeah. Oh, he's so nice. Let's give him like a 5 aggression. Well, what happens when he gets a -6? He goes 255.
Yeah, exactly.
Buffer underflow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun when stuff like that doesn't get caught. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people felt differently, but I think in the lens of hindsight, I think it's charming.
An underflow, overflow, and lack of caps are the reason speedrunning exists. Yeah. I mean, if you look at you go to Super Mario 64 and the backwards long jump. You can long jump so far forward and so quickly forward, but there's a cap on how fast you can go forward. But if you spam a long jump in the opposite direction, there's no cap on how much speed you gain. You just keep gaining speed every time you touch the floor. And so you can propel yourself up through the door before the door even spawns a trigger to open the door. And on it goes. I mean, look at and things like that are taken advantage of in Breath of the Wild with numerous different glitches for what's the newest one that was discovered with you can hold a bomb and replace the bomb with your shield, and then you can hover across the entire map at like ludicrous speeds going backwards, but you have to jiggle your joystick and not let it go neutral, otherwise you'll just drop from the sky. Like that, like yeah. Speedrunning is fun. I love watching it. I can't do it, or I've never like devoted myself to wanting to speedrun, but I freaking love AGDQ and watching all their events all through the year. And yeah.
It's kind of interesting too. Another glitch, and recently, I don't know who it was, but somebody started doing some stories on this, and it's worth talking about since we're kind of at the end of the show a little bit. But is that it was pretty popular to talk about on Twitter, but like the Fox treasure glitch in Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that one?
Yeah.
Which was just like a really interesting artifact of the way that they negotiated pathfinding.
Yeah.
And the way that Anyway, the glitch is that the if you would follow foxes in Skyrim, and this is like an urban legend of Skyrim in the early days, like you follow foxes and they would lead you to treasure. And in a way, it was true because the way that they wrote the fox's pathfinding was that it would try to flee from players by crossing through a number of set I guess spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the way that they handled spaces in Skyrim, which were these series of triangles on the map, the more things that there were to render, the busier the map got, the smaller the triangles got.
Mm-hmm.
In the more rural places, the triangles were much bigger. And so the way Fox would be like, well, I have to run 100 spaces away. But their programming led them to where the triangles were smaller and they could pass through more triangles faster. And so you follow the foxes and naturally they would lead you to like bandit camps or little ruins or a
complex
cave.
Areas that had complex more geometries. Areas.
Exactly, where there's smaller triangles, smaller spaces. Yep. Which is just interesting that like 10 years after the game came out, somebody like did the research on how that urban legend.
Yeah, the AI of foxes, right?
Right, the AI of foxes. And apparently there's something about butterflies in Skyrim too. I don't remember that, but
my favorite thing in Skyrim is that the inventory for people have to be attached to objects, not people. And so the Khajiit caravan has a chest that's underground and accessible down in... It's not Solitude. What's the... There's another town. There's one of the snowy towns that has a chest that's just under the level of the ground under a set of rocks. And if you walk over there, you can just raid the chest and take from it.
Right.
And it's not owned inventory because it's in a chest, but it's the inventory that the Khajiits will sell you in their caravan.
Right. Yeah, see, it's stuff like that that's interesting. It's, I don't know, I like it. It shows you how much hard work and how much thought and effort goes into making these games. Mm-hmm. And the Bethesda, the Elder Scrolls titles in particular are very unique as far as like the sort of adventure RPGs go, because they are these highly detailed, curated worlds that are not easy to really replicate. Mm-hmm. That's why you really have Elder Scrolls and like the modern Fallouts, I guess, are really the only thing that are comparable. And sometimes you get things that are kind of close to what they try to accomplish with like Kingdom Come Deliverance and like maybe a couple of other titles, but like there's a reason that games like Dark Souls has really taken off as far as, I mean, there's a whole subgenre of games now, Souls-like. But why isn't there Elder Scrolls-like? It's just not easy to do. You have a lot of man hours, a lot of time going into these things to create these highly detailed, highly curated, highly polished worlds where you could go into virtually every single building on the map.
Well, remember Daggerfall? Like, let's predate Morrowind and talk about an economy of scale.
Right. Well, that's actually what's really interesting. And in like the,
you even compare Daggerfall to modern games, and it's like Daggerfall is unquestionably the largest map that's ever been made. Second, probably only to No Man's Sky, and that's even debatable because 90% of No Man's Sky you can't explore because it's between star systems.
Right. And you could do it, but see, this is the thing, and in the ever mythical Morrowind script that I've written for Craft Computing someday, I actually talk about this quite a bit because Daggerfall, like, I haven't played it as extensively as the other games, but what's interesting is like when you leave the sort of like rendered settlements and event locations, like you get into like procedurally generated terrain, and it's like all kind of now you can literally go from one town to the next to the next to the next to the next by just walking through the wilderness. But once you're in the wilderness, I imagine it's much like No Man's Sky, where there's not much to do. You can walk right through some of the terrain, but that doesn't take away from the technological accomplishments of it. And I think where Daggerfall shines the most is where the storyline takes you, because some of it is very interesting. The locations are the most interesting. The events are very interesting. Morrowind expands upon it, takes all of the best parts about Daggerfall, and goes, what if we didn't have this highly detailed, procedurally generated world, but we had this small, curated world where you could go to above this dresser in this person's house in this town, and there's definitely a sword up there. Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting into the woods
instead of like
about this.
an acorn.
Right. Yeah. You know, Daggerfall is a great technological accomplishment. Not taking that away.
Yes.
It's just it's one of those things where I love it because they were like, how big can we make this game? And they did it.
Yeah.
But like some of those other games, a lot of the world is empty. There's not much to do unless you're sort of following some of the scripted things that they have. And, you know, you could almost say the same thing about Morrowind, but I think part of the cool mystique about Morrowind is the world is so small. And, you know, some people be like, well, viewing distance is kind of a sham in that game. But it's like, yeah, but it also makes the world feel so much bigger than it is. If you turned off the fog and you just looked across the map, you'd be like, that's it? That's it. Really? But you don't think that.
Well, you could be like Nintendo and just turn the fog off all your games when you port them over to Switch.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could talk forever about Morrowind, but we're going to save that for, you know, a full video someday.
Yeah, eventually.
We'll make it happen.
Who knows? Anyway, it is 10 past the hour. I think that's a great time to call this a show. If you like this one, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. There's 107 of you watching and only 69 likes. While that is nice, I'd like it to be higher still. If you like the content you see on this channel and want to help support us in what we do, consider joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As an exclusive bonus, you'll get access to the Discord server where you can chat with myself, Rhett, John, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and take part in the awesome community that hangs out over there. Subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Hit up the craftcomputing.store to grab yourself some sweet merch and start drinking like a pro. Join us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. And I think, as always, we'll see you in the next video.
We'll see you there, guys.
Later
Cheers.
on.